Anyway, we're here to talk about one of our favourite partnerships at KISS, which is moving into its 4th year now. The VOXI Mobile collab all started our Ibiza events, but has evolved into a multi-platform partnership with the key aim of engaging with youth audiences. I'm going to start with you, Jamie, from VOXI. Let's go back to the start of the campaign. What were you looking to achieve with VOXI, and how did KISS help your strategy?
Yeah, so VOXI Mobile is our youth brand at Vodafone in the UK, and the partnership sits in our brand love layer of comms, so it's focused on growing awareness and consideration for VOXI amongst 16-34s. And we launched a campaign 3 years ago, just as we were coming out of COVID. Obviously, this was a tough time for all, but particularly for youth. And we were looking for ways to re-engage and reconnect with our target audience. And we knew after a few years of on and off lockdowns, they were keen to get back to live events. So KISS proved the perfect partner for us to get back front and centre with them as we launched as the headline sponsor for KISS Ibiza and Haunted House Party.
And we've had some great times on Ibiza, Jay, haven't we?
We have.
Yes, that's the bonuses. Shout out to VOXI. Rebecca, we work at KISS in a way that's all about looking at the brand as a 360 media channel. Can you tell us a bit about how radio, socials and events like KISS Haunted House Party and Ibiza are built into this?
Yeah, meaty question. Morning, everyone. Yeah, I mean, when we hear the phrase 360, I think most people think about social plus audio. And I think the events part is a really, really important part of this partnership. We're all in the business of moving people, right? We're in the business of moving people's heads and hearts to consider brands, to spend more time with us, to, listen to the messaging. And so for us, that kind of perfect brand filter that VOXI shared with us, that kind of fun never ends, that kind of young at heart audience, not just youth audience, was the kind of really easy way to kind of really get into 360, because we can't just be a linear audio brand when it comes to younger audiences. We all know that. No shit, Sherlock. And I think the other point of that is that younger audiences mean everything from 15 all the way to 35, right? And their media habits are completely different. Yeah. So having the most amount of platforms to be able to do the right content on the right platform at the right time and be singular on each of those platforms is the most important thing. So that events piece for us is really, really important, because that's the memory making, and everything else is about solidifying that message or that memory making. So yeah, 360 is genuinely 360 now, very overused sort of phrase, right, in media and decks at commercial pitches. But for us, it truly is about sort of the head and heart part of what that means.
Yeah, for sure. Joel Corey would like that answer.
He would.
He would.
Shout out to Joel Corey.
There you go. Rupert, so did the multi-platform nature of this campaign change the way that you approach things from a planning perspective?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's obviously like plenty of industry evidence about the benefits of having sort of multiple touch points. It creates, a more comprehensive brand experience for consumers. And I think, to build on what Jamie and Rebecca was saying, I think that events piece was really critical. We know that coming out of COVID, that Gen Z audience were really desperate for real life experiences for those like music and those artists that they'd like grown to love during that time. And I think you saw that with like Beyonce's tour, with Taylor Swift's tour. It wasn't just like a tour; it was a real experience, and I think that was really critical. I think particularly for VOXI as a brand, where we work in a sector where like what we sell is a bit invisible, It's not very tangible. So I think having that more tactile experience is really, really important.
And does having a brand like KISS help with planning the digital and the events element of this campaign?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big fan of working really closely with partners. I think obviously there's that, you have your own IP that, really resonates with your audience. You have the talent, but I think it is that authenticity that you can bring, Obviously, we're looking to, sort of get close to a Gen Z audience, and you guys really know that audience very well and can kind of create a very authentic brand experience.
Yeah, for sure. And as part of your partnership, VOXI Mobile sponsors KISS Afternoons with Tatum McGrill. Shout out to Tatum. She's not here right now, but shout her out. How important is it to keep that core traditional radio sponsorship alongside everything else?
Yeah, I think it's really important. We talk a lot about...
That's the right answer.
Yeah. We talk a lot about, wanting to make the VOXI brand famous, and there's two parts of that. There's making the brand really relevant to that Gen Z audience, and I think the events that we're talking about do a great job of that. But there's also a big job around just making sure the brand's top of mind all the time, and I think radio is like fantastic at that. Great sort of reach and frequency versus their audience, and And also, like, fundamentally, it's just like that sort of drumbeat, that consistency, those reminders that you need to make sure the brand's top of mind. And like in the category when, you know, that people are only in market for a sort of really short period of time, just having those reminders are really important.
I think Gen Z is going to be a big buzzword today. We're going to get there in a minute. Jay, the campaign has really evolved from where it began 3 years ago. Can you tell us about the way you've developed the partnership with KISS and how you put emphasis on making great content?
Yeah, it's definitely evolved. So when we first launched, it was really built around Kiss Ibiza and Haunted House. In year 2, we added an additional property to the mix with Chosen One, and this allowed us to extend the narrative year round, build a longer campaign. Previously, we're just running May through to November. This fell across Q4 and allowed it to run year round, and it also built a bigger role for VOXI in the campaign, as the winner of the DJ comp went on to perform at our events in Ibiza. We've also built a bigger presence across the summer. So previously we had 2 events, so in Ibiza in May and August bank holidays. This year in year 3 we've gone on to do 5 events, and so much bigger presence across the summer. And we've also evolved the campaign through our use of talent. So by building a more diverse mix of talent into the campaign, we've been able to extend the reach and tap into new audiences, which has been great. And in terms of great content, obviously, the brands are so well suited. This has felt super easy. We've been able to ensure that VOXI has been super integrated in all elements of the campaign, so we've been able to deliver some great content.
For sure. And long may the Ibiza trips continue, Tyler, right? Thank you, VOXI. Rebecca, from a KISS and a Bauer point of view, how do you approach working with brands like VOXI?
Just take a deep breath, have a shot of vodka, and the rest is history. I mean, how do we approach it? Maybe I'll sort of talk about what it's like and how I sort of find our partnership with VOXI pretty utopian. Like for me, the dream, right, is to be able to have those partners that you can WhatsApp an idea to, that you can take a straw man version of a campaign to, you can really kind of create together. So it's not transactional. It's all about trying to break down the kind of the factory element of the commercial process for us and really get to a good place together. And that takes transparency, all of those kind of things that we all talk about, but does it actually happen? It really does with this partnership. We can use all the different elements. Shout out to Tamsin and Lynn, who work really successfully from our commercial team on it. We're across desks from each other in the office. You guys are only ever like a phone call away. And I would say that agility and having that small group kind of way of working is absolutely key, especially when you're like iterating and growing a campaign and trying to evolve it, and not just being sort of pitch deck, feedback, PCA sort of mindset all the time. I think that really slows things down. People stop sort of listening to each other as well about what they really think and what they really need from campaigns. So for us, it's kind of how we approach it is to try and be obviously as prepared as possible. And if there is a pitch, it's never a slam dunk just because we've been in a partnership for a long time. You know, there's lots of other media owners out there that are great also. And so, you know, we never rest on that laurel. So for me, it's always being hungry and coming to those meetings really prepared, but at the same time, knowing that we've got that agility and familiarity with each other to be able to sense check an idea before we get to that more formal stage. So for me, it's the absolute dream. It's the absolute sort of, you know, sparing no blushes. It's the absolute sort of blueprint, and that's what's helped us keep our hunger as well. And ambition around the campaign, and you know, you've come to us with kind of things that you're exploring and thinking about, and even that is kind of shows real transparency and trust, which is it's fun as well.
Yeah, and as my boss of KISS, that's a fantastic answer.
Thanks very much, Browners.
Rupert, let's talk about Gen Z and Gen A. How hard is it to create an impact with that audience?
Yeah, I mean, this is the moment where I pretend to be an authority on an audience that I'm definitely not
throw up your hearts, Rupert.
Yeah.
Just learn how to do that.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think it doesn't have to be difficult. I think there's a lot of sort of stuff bandied about around, you know, this audience having really short attention spans, being addicted to social media, and I don't think it's not really the full picture. You know, we know that they're just as likely to kind of, you know, go down a wormhole on TikTok about, I don't know, steam engines or whatever, or like binge on their favourite box set. So they are willing to engage in content if there's an obvious value exchange, if you make it worth their while. And I think going back to what I was saying before around, you know, having an authentic relationship, that's where partners are really key, because I think that's making that content really sort of authentic to them. It's making it speak to them. It's giving you that value exchange. And, you know, from my experience, having worked on a few sort of youth-orientated brands before, like the partnership elements often the ones that perform the best.
Right.
It doesn't have to be hard, I don't think. I think generally working with partners kind of helps get your message across.
Yeah. Over to you, Rebecca, a similar question. With the youth audience, you know, they're the hardest to engage with. How does KISS make sure that we're speaking to the younger generations?
Well, hey, we're all in the same game, right, aren't we, of trying to sort of keep up, trying to stay informed, trying to hire the right people around us that know sort of better than us. And I think it's about being smart and, you know, overestimating this audience, actually. I think there's quite a lot of people who are definitely not, no offence to anyone here, in that age bracket, sort of looking at a graph and doing one focus group and thinking that this, you know, this generation is kind of one thing. And I think, yes, it's about being smart with multi-platform. It's also about not losing faith in radio listening and what radio listening kind of means to this audience. You know, we're all awake at night, aren't we, media owners, thinking about how to engage in this audience, but we're all being smart with social media, we're all being smart with events. The sorts of, you know, integrated campaigns that we do are more important than ever because this is a very, you know, advertising savvy audience that's very receptive to it as well. So look, it's just for us, it's about keeping our eyes and ears open and, you know, again, not being transactional with this audience as well, making sure that we're in touch with them and not treating them like aliens.
Yeah. Okay.
And learning how to do that.
So you got it.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah,
My 13-year-old
perfect.
showed me how to do it.
And Jamie, Rupert, for the marketers in this room, of course, there's going to be one big question. What were the results of this collaboration?
Ooh, yeah. What
Did it work?
Key question. So yeah, I guess as Rupert just said, we've seen the results of this partnership
Quite good, isn't it?
outperform all expectations, so both from brand metrics point of view, as you can see up there, but also from return on investment for the business. This has massively outperformed everything else we're doing, which has been great.
Lovely. Rupert?
Yeah, I mean, just to build on what Jamie said, I think, you know, with VOXI, we're really sort of conversion-orientated brand, like sort of bringing more people into the brand is critical. And I think what's really interesting is that, I mean, it's not a new thing from an industry perspective, but it's another example of where if you go down a more branded route, it can actually pay back really well. And it's been the best sort of performing from a sort of return on investment perspective, best performing activity we've got across the brand.
So a very successful relationship. What else would you like to do with KISS? What's next?
Wow, it's exciting, isn't it?
What is next? Yeah, I guess we'll launch our KISS Wanted House Party campaign for the third time next week, which should be super exciting. And then I think we've got a few more things in the pipeline we can't talk about just yet.
Come on, Jay. Give us a little bit, surely.
The fun never ends, I think is, you know, but yeah, we do have lots of things that we're working on, and there's lots of kind of things that we kind of know we are likely to do with each other, but then, you know, unbeknownst to these guys, there's things that we'd like to take to them, you know, proactively, and that's how we work as well, especially when we can just pick up the phones for each other. So yeah, I'm sure we'll be back another time to tell you all about what we're going to get up to next year.
Yeah, I think Chosen One was a great campaign because Sam Sachs, who ended up winning the competition, she's played in Beach and IB for a few times now. She's only meant to play once, and they've had her back, and, you know, it's really positive what we did there.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, you know, we found really good talent that probably going to be, you know, around the brand for a long time. She did History at Blackheath as well. So, yeah, the fun really does never end, Jamie.
Definitely.